Okay, this video is going to be about changing springs on golf cart. This is a 1993 E-Z-GO Marathon. It's an older unit. It runs really good. It's electric. I just put new batteries in it a couple years ago, all new Trojans. So this thing will be good for a long time, so I want to take care of it. And I noticed it's been riding a little bit. Seems like it's kind of leaning to the left a little bit. And sure enough, I pull off the wheel, 4 lug nuts, jack it up, pull off the wheel, and as I suspected, you can see right there, well, maybe you can, maybe you can't, there's a crack in the leaf spring. So I got a broken spring, that's why it's leaning to one side. So this video is going to be how to change that spring out. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo these 4 bolts here, and that's going to release the axle. I'm going to have to put something under the axle so it doesn't drop down completely. I'm also going to have to break loose this shackle bolt here, as well as this shackle bolt here, and that little pack should come right out. Okay, so I got it out, and here's what it took to get it out. That shackle back there, that double deal, take the 2 nuts off, and then that outside part pops off, and that frees up the rear of the leaf spring. There's 4 bolts that hold that plate, this plate on top of the center section. And when you take those 4 nuts off, it drops the U-bolts out the bottom. And then in the front, it's a little more involved, not much more. You take the nut and the lock washer off. This is the bolt, but in order to get the bolt to slide out, there was a battery sitting there. So you pop out the 1 battery. It's just, you know, a couple of nuts, whatever's holding your battery on. This extra line here, that's for my headlights, so you may or may not have that. So essentially just loosen up the 2 terminals there, pull that battery out. I use a bungee cord to hook in. They're kind of hard to get these batteries out. They're so heavy and they sit down in there and they don't have much of a handle. So bungee cord works pretty good to get them up out of there. So that's it. That's how you get the, then you work that bolt out once you got the battery out of the way. So now I got to round up a new spring pack, and it'll go back in just the way the old one came out. I guess here you can see it a whole lot better now. You know, that's broken. That's clean break. So it's been broke for a little while, but that'll fix me up. I get a new spring pack and update you when I do. Plans. I went out to the parts store, and what they had was they didn't have anything identical to my 3-leaf spring, but they had a whole bunch of 4-leaf stuff laying around, and the guy made me a deal on a couple of 4-leaf springs. So I'm gonna upgrade. So I'm gonna upgrade the side that I'm working on here, and then I'm also gonna do the other side. So I picked up, you know, a couple of 4-leaf springs. So project just changed a little bit, but I'll update you when I get the first one done here. Okay, I guess I should mention these bushings come out. So like they each, you know, that one slides in on this side. That slides in on the other side. These are in fair shape. I probably should have got new ones, but I'm not super worried about it. So take the bushings out, and you're gonna stick them in the new one. And I'll probably put a little silicone lubricant, wherever the hell it's at. One of these aerosol cans of silicone lubricant, just to, you know, keep it from rubbing and stuff. So do that first, then stick the spring in. Okay, ran into an issue. The bolt that holds the pack together on these new ones is bigger than the old ones. So what I did after much contemplation and fiddling around trying to figure out, I could either waller the hole out bigger. I don't have a bit that big. Biggest metal drill bit that I have is 1/2 inch. So I didn't have a bit big enough. I hate using the like a deburr tool, like a carbide tip in there. That shit just goes everywhere, and I would not be able to get all the way down in the very bottom of the corner anyhow. So weighed all my options, and what I did was just rounded the head off that bolt, so it should fit now. I had to shorten it. The bolt was like, had to take about 1/2 inch off the length of it, and then I rounded off all the corners to make it, you know, circular to fit down in there. Thing is, if I ever do have to take this apart, I got to pull the pack out anyhow, so it won't be nothing just to cut the head off of that bolt and put a new bolt on. So it's not really a big deal. So that's what I had to do to get it to mount up in here, and I'm going to remount it now. Okay, so I did both of those leaf spring packs the same way. I rounded the heads off the bolts, made sure they were good and tight, and I had to grind them down and make the round the heads off the bolts to get them to fit down in those holes on the axle. So again, that's just because those are, these are not springs that are specifically for this cart, but I got a good deal on them. They're heavier than ones that were on it. So this side, I broke this a spring on this side about a year ago. So it's, I kind of was expecting when it was starting to lean a little bit, that, well, the other side finally broke. So I'm kind of glad I went to the 4-leaf anyhow. So we'll see how it rides and everything. But I got them mounted up. All I got to do now is throw the wheels on. So to remount these, that's pretty simple. Just slide the back in, bolt that up, then slide your front in, bolt that up, and then put your U-bolts back in. Make sure your pins line up. The pins that I just had to grind down and bolts, make sure they go into the hole where they're supposed to there. Get everything good and tight. I put everything together loose on one side, went around to the other side, put everything together loose on it, make sure nothing shifted around, nothing moved, tighten it all back up, check everything, it's good to go. Should be ready to put the wheels on and drop this thing down. Okay, so I got the wheels on both sides, torqued everything down good and tight. Should be good to go. Last thing I need to do is drop the batteries back in and hook those up. Pretty simple. And put the seat on, take it for a test drive. I think we're in real good shape. Doesn't look like it's satted up at all. I've got about 2.5 inches of clearance at the closest point there from the wheel to, or from the tire to the fender. So I don't think it really set it up at all. I'm kind of curious how much. I don't think it really didn't do much to the suspension back here. I mean, this thing's always been pretty tight. So I doubt I'll notice much difference. So that's kind of a good thing. That's the end of the project. Okay, so I drove around just a little bit. Everything seems fine. You can hear that buzzing. That's it plugged into the charger. So it's good to go. Next time I need to use it, it'll be ready to go.